This is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Lamed, and we're holding on the top of Lamed Amid Aleph as we continue learning about Yayin Mavushal, one of the more quoted hatirim of Yayin Esech, perhaps misquoted if you look into the Sugya Abyssal. But for now, let's just learn the Pasuk Gemara Tanur Rabbanan, the second line of Lamed Amid Aleph. Yayin Mavushal Va'alunte shel akum asurim. Yayin, cooked wine, and aluntis wine of an avodah zarah are asur. Aluntis kibriyasai mutaris. But if a guy bought ready-made aluntis, then it is mutar. So now the pashut shot over here is when it says yayin mavushal of a guy, it's referring to yayin that belonged to a guy. So ostensibly that wine has a serious issue. And then the guy went and cooked it, so it's not going to make it mutter. Says the Gemara in the fourth line, and what does it mean when we're talking about aluntis? Kiritnan gabe Shabbos, as we learned with regard to Shabbos, oisin anumlin. We're allowed to make anomlin ve'noisin aluntis vezi anomlin vezi aluntis. What are these two things? Anomlin is yainu dvashu pelpelin, wine, honey, and pep. Aluntis is yayin yashin, old wine, umayim slulin, in clear water, va'afarsimin, and the balls of oil. To avdi lebei mesusa, which is made for the bathhouses. So this is going to be the entity that it contains wine, and therefore, if the guy made it, then it was wine, it doesn't become mutter. But if the guy bought it as aluntis, is already bathhouse remedy item, then it will not be asur prior. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef, Tamri tarvayu yain mozog in mishom gilu yayin. Another halacha, yayin mozog, diluted wine, doesn't have the halacha of gilui, doesn't have the halacha of uncovered liquids, a halacha which isn't a geah b'zman hazeh, but halacha, the pashtus halacha, aside for the goyin or Chen Knievsky, Bnei Brak was makbid, but stam, and the Rashi explains what's the issue of gilu sheinacha sheisei menu, that a snake drinks from it. So wine, you don't have to worry about that. Why? Because diluted wine, the snakes apparently do not like. Similarly, mavushal ein misham nisach doesn't have an issue of yayin nesach, as we've spoken out many times. Why? Because yayin mavushal is low quality, inferior wine, which no one would pour l'avodah zarah. So Ibayilahu asked the Gemara, yayin mavushal yeshem misham giloi or ein misham giloi. What about yayin mavushal klape, the halacha of giloi? So Tashima says the Gemara, hater of Yaakov Bar Idi, yayin mavushal she'ein misham giloi. There's no din of giloi. Rav Yanai Bar Shmuel Chalash. All legabei Rav Shmuel ben Zira v'Rabban l'Shulei Bey. They came to visit, and what happens when they come to visit? Yasim v'Kamabayilei. They're asking and they're talking and learning. And what was the shaila that they were handling? Yayin mevoshal yesha misham giloi or ein misham giloi. Amr leho Rabbi Yishmael ben Zirad. Hachi Amr Shimon Levi. Hachi Amr Shimon Lakish. Excuse me. Misham Gavarabba. And who was that Gavarabba? Manu Rav Chia. That what yayin mevoshal ein boy misham giloi. Cooked wine does not have the halacha of gilui. Amrulay, they responded, Nisvaich. Can we rely on this? Now what you're saying over? Machvulay Rav Yani Bar Yishmael. He pointed to Rav Yani Bar Yishmael, Alai va'al tzavarai, saying, rely on me and upon my neck, as there's certainly no danger, there's no halacha of gilui to this wine. Continues the Gemara with another story, about 15 lines from the medium-sized line. The first one line is Val Tzavari. Shmuel va'avleit havayasi. Shmuel and Avleit were sitting. Avleit is a guy. Aisa the kamayo chamra mivashla. Cooked wine was brought in front of them. Mashli yadi Avleit withdrew his hand. He didn't want to touch it. You're able to touch it. Also, another story to Rav Chia. The matron of Rav Chia had some cooked wine that was uncovered. She brought it in front of Rav Chia to ask, could she drink? Could it be drunk? There's no problem. Shamei, another story. The Ravado, the Shamesh of Ravado Barava, Igloi Lechamra, had some wine that became uncovered. Maziga, and this was wine that was diluted. Amar le Rabbi Yain Mazik, Imam Shem Gilui. Amar Apa, Bale Amar and Ella de Mazik Tufa. This is only if it's poured, if it's diluted, a lot. Aval Mazik, Bala Mazik, a little diluted, Shasi, then we have to worry that a snake will drink from it, and therefore we'll have the Isser of Mashkin Giluyim, uncovered liquids. Umaziv Laya Mazik Mi Shasi asked the Gemara, 3 lines to the medium Salayim Rabbi Ravuna. Have a kazal ba'arbi is going on a boat. Ravinokit Chamra Bahade. Chazilu Chayvare. And what happened? He saw a snake. Titzari Va'asi, who was slicing through the water and coming to drink the wine. Amar Le L'Shameh. He said to Shamish, Sameh Eina, blind that one's eyes, the dain of that one. Shakal Kali Maila. The servant took a little bit of water, Shadi lay and threw it in the wine. Titzar La'chure, and the snake turned back. So what do we see? We see that once there's a little bit of water in the wine, the snake does not want to drink from it. So we're saying that the case of mashkin that's partially yayin, partially mezugin, partially diluted, it says the Gemara clearly any bit of water the snake does not want to drink. Answers the Gemara in the first medium-sized line, Achaya Masar Nafshe. For undiluted wine, the snake will risk his life. Ameziga Loi Masar Nafshe. There's 2 different things. Undiluted wine, whereas diluted wine, undiluted wine with a little bit of water, the snake will try to drink, but not diluted wine. Says Gemara, really? For Rav Yanai Havi Be'achburi. For Rav Yanai was at Be'achburi. Vamrele Bar Hedi Havi Be'achburi. Hav Yaseh V'Kashasi Chamra Meziga. They were sitting and drinking diluted wine. Pashtu Chamra Be'chuva. Excuse me. They left some wine in the barrel. 1 second. I'm sorry. The highlighted should go back on in a moment. V'Sarune Parnukas. They tied the barrel with a cloth. Chazelu Chevya. And they saw a certain snake, the Shakamaya Verdama Bekuba, that was taking water and throwing it in the barrel at the middle of the Kuba till the barrel was filled. And the wine rose over the cloth, and the snake began to drink it. So what do we see? We see that even though it was diluted wine, the snake clearly will drink it. So Amri, they answered, no kasha, demazing ihu shasi. That which, and whatever this means, of course, is difficult to understand. But says the Gemara, if the snake himself diluted it, then he'll drink it. Someone else diluted it, then lo shasi, he will not drink it. Amar Ravashi v'temer Misharsha. Ravashi says, and some say it's from Misharsha, Piruka l'saikanta. Are you giving answers regarding dangers? How can you make such chilukim? How do you know whether the snake might touch it, whether the snake might not touch it? Says the Gemara, in all scenarios, you have to be wary and you cannot drink the wine. So after going back and forth, whether the snake will drink it, will not drink it, there is water, there isn't water, the snake added the water or not, says the Gemara, what's lemaisa? 4 lines from the wide lines, Amarava Hilchasa. Yayin Mazug, Yesha Misham Giloi, Yesha Misham Yayin Esach. Yayin Mavoshal, Ein by Misham Giloi, Vein by Misham Yayin Esech. A clear split between Yayin Mazug and Yayin Mavoshal. Continues the Gemara with the story. Shami de Rav Chalkia Bar Tuvia Igloyahu Kista. The Shamish Rav Chalkia Bar Tuvia had a kistia of water, Demayav Avinayim Gaba. And he was sleeping next to this kista of water. Rav Chalkia Bar Tuvia Amar Lei. Hari Amru Imas Yashan Alel. How are you sleeping? The fear of sleeping is upon the snakes, meaning You don't have to be worried if a person is next to the snake will not touch it even if the person is sleeping. But says the Gemara of Hani Mili Biyamama, this is only during the day, Aval Belelia Loi. However, during the night, you still have to be concerned. Veloyi Lo Shabam Lo Shabelelia, Emas Yashan Aleha, snake will not touch the wine. If a person is sleeping, Emas Yashan Aleha, Lo Yamrina, we do not say that the snake will be concerned, and therefore only at night is there going to be this, the opposite, opposite. Therefore, anything that is a chashash of giloi is aser even during the day when someone's sleeping near it. Says the Gemara, Rav, lo yishasi mibei arma'ah, on the second very wide line, Rav will not drink from an Armenian home, Amr le zihiri begiloi. He would say they're not careful about giloi. Mi be'ar malta shasti, but from a be'ar martel he would drink. Amr sircha de gavra nakita. She has the habits of her husband, and therefore this widow, even though her husband's not around, she'll still be makbid on giloi. Whereas on the other hand, Shmuel lo shasti mai be'ar malta. Amr lesala imasa de gavra v'loy michsa maya. She's not going to cover the water. Be'ar maya. Then Shmuel said, shasi nehide galia loy kapti amranuxia. Mia kapti, they are kapid about our menuxia, which is hygiene, and therefore, even if they don't care particularly about the halacha, about the health concern, they are. Two different lishayness. Continues the Gemara, the two dots, 4 lines from the bottom. Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Shalei she'einois hein ve'en mishum giloi ve'elu hein. Chad Velu hein, Chad mar malsik, Chad sharp wine, mar bitter wine, maltik sweet wine. Chad, when it comes to sharp wine, what's that referring to? Tili charif, dimatri zika, which could burst the container due to its strength. Mar, what does it mean by bitter wine? Yarnaka, maltik is choya. Rav Chama Masaluye Chad. Rav Chama taught the chad refers to chamar pulplin, wine and peppers. Mar is afsintin, and maslik is may barg. Amar Rav Shimon Lakish teaches the Gehilig Gemara 2 lines at the bottom. Karina in bamisham giloi. Karina is now an issue of giloi. My Karina says Gemara Rav Yevua chamra chalya. Ta'asi me asya, sweet wine that comes from Asya. Amar Rava, ubemakaima yishem misham giloi maitema, chamar medinahu, it's the wine of the land. Amar Rava, chamra deikrim, teaches Rava on the last line, wine that's begun to sour, until 3 days misham giloi. Umisham yayin nesech, as we turn over to Lamed Amid Beis, but after 3 days we come ve'elchem misham giloi, misham yayin nesech, but hardoy amri, because it could be that there are times that the snake will drink from it even after 3 days. Continues the Gemara Tanarabban on the 4th line of Lamed Amid Beis. Yayin toy says fermenting wine. Ein b'misham gila v'kamer tarsisa. Which is like Gimel Yom Hashachlayim. When it comes to cress, ein b'misham giloi. U'bnei goyla nagu b'em iser v'lo marnal d'lesli chala. This is only when there is no vinegar. The vinegar antagonizes the snake, and therefore he's not going to drink it. If it has indentations that looks like snake bites, then we should be concerned. Which is another raya, we don't have time to go into it now, that we see that this is a very practical halacha, whether we're concerned for gilui or not, if there are snakes, if there aren't snakes, etc. Amar Rav Chia bar Ashi, Amar Shmuel, May tif ein by misham gilui. If we have dripping liquids, you don't have to worry about it. Amar Rav Ashi, V'huda avid tip lahadi tip. It has to be a continuous drip, no intervals. Amar Rav Chia bar Ashi, Amar Shmuel, Pi te'ina, the mouth of a fig, ein lo misham giloi. The mouth of a fig doesn't have an issue of Gilui Kiman. Ki Aitanya, Titanya, Rav Lezer Omer. You don't have to worry about eating the dates and grapes at night. Shem watches the simple. So we don't have to be concerned that any liquid inside of it. Amar Rav Safra, Mishum Rav Yeshua, dear Reimer from the south. Shloisha mine eres heim. There are three types of venom. Shalbachar shoikeya, young snake sinks to the bottom. Shalbeinaini, middle-aged snake, mifafeya, is on the top of the barrel. Shalzakin, of an older snake, saf mamish floats. Actually, mifafeya means it's in the middle, and the older snake saf, it floats to the top. Sounds like as older as the snake comes, the weaker it gets. That's why the venom is going to be floating and not sink. Vatani shloshikol zman shabazkini and gvura mitzayfeses bem. The Bryce that says that the three entities that the older they get, the stronger they get. Eluin dog nachash vechazir explains where you're right. Koyach asufa yud kamaisip, but zihirai kolish asufa because the strength gets more, but zihirai kolish the venom weakens. Shalbacher shaykea lamai hilchasa. What is it relevant to know that the young snake venom sinks? Titania chavish and iskala avalisha sharsam imenu tisha v'loimesu. 9 people drank and they didn't die. So you say, okay, I could drink it. Lo yishem imenu asiri and maisa yishashas imenu tisha v'loimesu v'shas asiri mace. Why? Because the venom was at the bottom. Amar Rav Yirmiyah zehu shaykea. This is what it means that it sinks. Melon that was left uncolored. This means that it sinks to the bottom. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up, continuing discussing Lachs of Giloy in the next year. Siyata Dishmaya.